Greetings from South Korea. I am Arirang News AI anchor. Here is the news-making headlines today. The Urji Freedom Shield exercise came to an early end Friday after being scaled back by nearly half following U.S. President Donald Trump's order earlier this week. Kim Yo-jong, sister of leader Kim Jong-un, released a statement late Thursday night through the Korean Central News Agency, with sneering remarks against Seoul. In response to the scaling down of the Urji Freedom Shield joint military exercises, she mocked that a single order from U.S. President Trump left South Korea in a pitiful plight of no longer being able to play war games. Calling the alliance a master-servant relationship, Kim accused South Korea's President Lee Jae-myung of duplicitous words and deeds. While North Korea maintains its hostile posture towards South Korea, analysts have commented that Kim Yo-jong's latest statement can be read to reaffirm North Korea's stance of leaving room for its relationship with the United States. South Korea is expressing optimism regarding recent diplomatic developments between the U.S. and North Korea. On Friday, Unification Minister Chung Dong-young at a meeting with religious leaders called this a tectonic shift. Jung also said earlier in the day that the past year was a time of frustration. Meanwhile, the government says acting as a pacemaker does not mean South Korea is being bypassed. A high-ranking Unification Ministry official stated the core priority is setting the table for dialogue to break the status quo. This suggests Seoul prioritizes the revival of diplomatic momentum over immediate direct participation. The official added Washington will not recognize the regime as a nuclear state, maintaining complete denuclearization as the ultimate objective. President Lee Jae-myung has called for stronger efforts to root out corruption in Korea. Speaking at his administration's first anti-corruption policy meeting at the Blue House on Friday, Lee noted that Korea ranked 31st out of 182 countries in Transparency International's 2025 Corruption Perceptions Index. He called the ranking somewhat embarrassing, but pointing to the country's much stronger performance in other areas, such as exports and current account surplus. He urged officials to correct any wrongdoing that may have been overlooked simply because it was considered a long-standing practice. The heads of 18 related government agencies attended Friday's meeting. South Korea's exports have hit an all-time high for the first 20 days of August, driven largely by a massive semiconductor boom. Preliminary data released by the Korea Customs Service on Friday shows outbound shipments from August 1st to the 20th reached $55.2 billion, which is a 56% jump compared to the same period last year. Chip exports alone skyrocketed by 198.8%, hitting a record $26 billion. Shipments to major partners like China, Vietnam, and the U.S. saw significant jumps, while passenger car exports dropped by 40.1%. Korea posted a trade surplus of $13.97 billion, signaling that strong economic momentum driven by chips remains intact. Korea is setting up what is being called a future fund to fuel long-term economic growth, using windfall tax revenue driven by the recent semiconductor boom. The plan announced by the Ministry of Planning and Budget on Friday said that, instead of spending this extra money immediately, the government plans to save tax revenue that exceeds the 10-year average trend, ranging from 60 to 100 trillion won. The fund will be heavily invested in 4 key areas: support for younger people, regional development, education, and new growth engines. Meanwhile, for the first time in 55 years, the government will overhaul its education budget system to reflect the shrinking student population, with a package of related bills set to be submitted to the National Assembly in early September. That is all from me today. Thank you for watching.